I have normal hobbies. I like rock and roll. I like sports. I like baseball and football. I like normal things, the Revolutionary War, things like that. But my UFO interests I have kept sort of hidden to a certain extent. It's not something that I generally will go to a party and start spouting off about because there's such an incredible misunderstanding about it. It has that silly factor to it. So it's not until I really get to know someone and trust someone that I open up about my knowledge of the subject. I did Fire in the Sky, I did Intruders, which was a miniseries for CBS. I worked on Contact, the Carl Sagan movie. I worked on UFO Cover-Up Live, which was a hideous live documentary that ran, 20 years ago now or something. If anybody wants to look, I always tell people, look into it seriously with an open mind. You will be shocked at how much evidence there is. You just won't believe it. And that has been true with me almost across the board when I've turned anyone on to the subject. They all come away shaking their heads and saying, wow, I had never had any idea there was so much evidence out there. So that's one of the sad parts of it, too. The subject is still treated as nonsense. Whenever they run a piece on something on the news, they always come on at the end with a little green man comment or something like that, and then they all chuckle at each other. And the great irony is they're so wrong. They are just so dead wrong. The truth is not on their side. The truth is on our side. But we have done a lousy job of explaining it to the world. So the naysayers have gained, I think, over the years. I think they are in a more powerful position now than they were years ago. I never thought I would work on this type of thing again. But then I saw James Fox's film, I Know What I Saw. I was very, very impressed by it. Made a point of meeting him. And we both came to realize that we both really thought there was a place for a feature UFO documentary that really took a strong viewpoint and tried to lay bare the layers of disinformation and misinformation and dishonesty. We both realized that we both had that in mind, that we would really like to do that. We also quickly agreed we did not want to do a TV documentary. We saw that we were all like-minded about it and that we had very high goals for this and wanted this to be the seminal all-time UFO feature. And that's our goal. That's what we're really working really hard to do. And so that was very inspiring to me and it made it easy for me to want to do this.
I had a confrontation with my own family to the point where it was like feeling like they were going to disown me when I started going in the direction of UFOs. Like, my dad had people writing me letters from, because I was born in England and I have family, a lot of family in France and England and some in Australia that have migrated to Australia. It's a dead-end road. It doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't mean anything. You're wasting your life. Like, you have to reconsider. And I remember at one point my dad saying, you know, eventually, I think it was when I brought him to the interview with Gordon Cooper. And that was several years when I was into, 5 years after the fact. He said, I did so with a very distinct sense of paternal obligation. And he died last year. He was my biggest fan before he died. And because he realized, he was a journalist himself, that this story had slipped between the cracks. People ask me all the time, well, you're that UFO guy. What do you do? Why UFOs? That's kind of weird. And a lot of times I'd go to like a cocktail party with people that know what I do. And I'd say, do me a favor and don't bring it up. I don't want to like get into some heated debate. I'm not interested. I want to enjoy myself, have a few drinks, go home, no problem, no confrontations. But I ask people all the time, I say, well, people that really put me on the spot. I said, well, let me ask you a question. If Earth was being visited, if there was tangible evidence being withheld from you, from your children, from the rest of the world, that we're not alone in the universe, would you like to know about that? And everyone says, well, yeah, that would be the most significant discovery ever of modern time. I mean, it's huge. The story's huge. It'll be huge. I've had Larry King tell me, oh my God, are you kidding me? As a reporter, it'd be the best story ever. I'd love to uncover that story. I'm convinced it's happening. So you think I can just walk away from that story? Can you just walk away from that? I think I've realized as I've gotten older and I had a very naive sense when I first embarked on this journey, that I could just do a documentary and get the truth out, and it would just be end of story. But I've been slightly jaded with that. After multiple films and the National Press Club event and hours on, we had live report. I mean, I got to pick witnesses for hour-long episodes on Larry King. Picking really good witnesses, and millions and millions and millions of people viewing the stuff. And then we do the National Press Club event, and then we did. I Know What I Saw, and I thought, wow, this. But I think it's a slow process. I mean, I asked Nick Pope, who investigated UFOs for the British government all these years, do you anticipate, any type of disclosure? And he said, well, James, I don't think it's going to be disclosure with a big D. I think it'll be disclosure with a small d. So I think it's happening slowly. You've got the British that have released a lot of documents. You've got the French have released a lot of documents. You've got other countries, Peru, Brazil. We interviewed an active general in Brazil. We have this happening in the rest of the world. There's a movement for transparency. They might not necessarily know what it is, but there's a movement for transparency. I don't necessarily think that people are going to be jumping out of windows like they were when Orson Welles made his announcement. I think there's been a lot of adjustment. I think there's been a lot of thought. There's been a lot of films, documentaries, and I think that people would just get on with their lives. I think it would be a major revelation. We'd see the bigger picture, and people would still have to go out and make money and take out the garbage and do the dishes and all that stuff. Yeah, I think we're ready.